Good morning. We have on page 617, we are trying to scaffold a problem that has to do with measurement, mass, and weight. Here's the problem. Kyle has a jar filled with quarters. The empty jar has a mass of 400 grams. That means the empty jar itself weighs about 400 grams. Now, the jar filled with quarters has a mass of 1.5 kilograms. So we're looking for grams and in kilograms. There are two different units. If each quarter has a mass of about 5 grams, about how many quarters are in the jar? So the first step that we are going to try to do on here is to try to figure out what is 1.5 kilogram. So this is the first step. I have 1.5 kilograms. We try to figure out what is 1.5 kilograms in terms of grams equals how many grams. So let's figure out what we know. The unit down here is as 1 kilogram. So we have 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams. So we have to figure out what is 1.5. So if you remember how we talk about moving decimals with thousands, when you multiply, here it is. I have 1, 2, 3. We want to get to the 1 because 1 times any number is 1. So if that is the case, we have to move 3 places. So here we go. We go 1, 2, 3. So 1, 1, 5. And then I have to fill in those eggshell cartons with 2 zeros. So if 1.5 kilogram, 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams, 1.5 kilograms is equal to 1,500 grams. Okay? So we got that settled. So we know that the jar as when it is full is 1,500 grams. Now we have to subtract the jar itself. The jar itself is 400 grams. So 1,500 minus 400 gives you 1,100 grams. All right, so this is the amount of money that is in the jar. So we got to figure out how many quarters there are. All right, so it says we don't know how many quarters there are, but we are going to try to figure it out. If each quarter has a mass of 5 grams. So here's step number 3. Of all the quarters that are in the jar, they weigh 1,500 grams. And then we say, okay, each quarter is about 5 grams. So we have to divide this by 5 grams to see how many quarters there are. All right, so we can do a traditional division of 1,100 divided by 5. 5 can't go into 1, so 5 has to go into 11 2 times. So 5 times 2 is 10. Subtract 1. Bring down the 0. 5 goes into 10 2 times. 5 times 2 is 10. Subtract. Now you bring down the last 0. 5 goes into 0 0 times. There are about 220 quarters. Okay, so let's recap this. We have a jar. The empty jar is 400 grams. The same jar, when it's filled with quarters, weighs 1.5 kilograms. And each quarter has a mass. That means how much they weigh, about 5 grams. So we got to figure out how many quarters there are. And now I'm working with kilograms and grams. In order to subtract 1.5 kilograms minus 400 grams, I have to change this unit into grams as well. Okay, so I ended up changing it. We figured it out. 1.5 kilogram is equal to 1,500 grams. And then I'm going to subtract that from the jar. because you don't want to count the jar as the quarters in there. So this is how many grams without the jar. This is how many grams the quarters will weigh. So I take that amount divided by 5 grams because each quarter weighs about 5 grams. And when I divided those two, I ended up with 220. This is the amount of, this is the number of quarters that are in the jar, provided that each one is 5 grams.